It's tax time, and there's a whole bunch of deductions, and there's a whole lot of explaining to do as well. Mark Stieber, Chief Tax Information Officer for Jackson Hewitt Tax Services, is taking the time to talk to us right now. All right, so it's midpoint in tax season, and I know you've heard a lot of things and seen a lot of things already about what's kind of like catching people to make a mess.
Yeah, it's halftime at the big show to go get those tax refunds, that's for sure. But the good news is it's a perfect time for your viewers. We've got a lot of experience over the last 10 or so weeks that we've been doing them, and you've got another several weeks before the deadline. So now's a perfect time to take inventory, get a plan, get those documents, and get it done, and go see your favorite tax professional.
All right, what have you learned since it is midway about where things are kind of like making people second guess or having an issue?
Yeah, it's a lot of similarities with prior years. Taxes are complicated and people's lives are complicated. So some of the confusion comes in when you have a big life change, and that's more than these days just getting married or having or adopting a child. Life changes come in all shapes and forms, from starting a side hustle to changing jobs to moving to a new state. And that always has some confusion because those events don't really get the same publicity that, say, new tax laws have. And we certainly had our banner of tax laws last year with that big, beautiful bill. You have new deductions for tips, for overtime, deduction for car interest if you bought a car, the right kind of car in 25, or even just being a senior. And each of those brand new, really big deductions, 25,000 on the tips, for example, they have some really unique characteristics on how you do that, where you put that. And because it was new, you can't just look at last year's tax return. And also because it was new, there's a lot of transitional type treatment that the IRS will allow, and where you get that information and how you get that information. You add all that together, it can be confusing, but the time is worth the effort to get that extra money in your refund.
All right, well, let's talk about two of those things, the whole tips thing and the overtime thing. There's thresholds, like you can deduct up to $12,500, or you can do this, that, and the other. It's not that you just get to put that amount on there for the overtime or the tips.
Yeah, it depends on which TikTok video you watched. It's become kind of obvious, but you're exactly correct. I'll start off with a tip one. You can deduct up to $25,000 in qualified tips. On the one hand, you put all of your tip income as your wage income on your taxable line, but there's a new form and a new line where you deduct the qualified tips up to the maximum of $25,000. And there's some income thresholds as well. If you make a lot, you can phase out. But you're exactly correct. It's not just hey, I had a tip last year, I'm gonna put 25,000. You have to know and calculate and provide the correct amount of qualified tips, but you had to include those in your income to start with. But it's not just a flat amount. Yes, that's correct. Similarly, the overtime, $12,500 per person. And I should have mentioned on the tip, you don't have to itemize. It's a new form, a new line item. But on the qualified overtime, it's the premium portion between your base pay and whatever the overtime pay may be. And there's a lot of different types of overtime: holiday pay, extra hour pay, hazard pay, and those types of things. So it's not a flat amount. You have to calculate it, and not all employers are treating it the same for 25. 26 it'll be on your W-2, but by some of the transitional latitude, you have to come up with that information, and that's something that you want to think about before you wait to the last minute to do your taxes and you just think you flop that number on there. Get a head start on it, take advantage of the time, locate that data, and let a tax pro help you sort it out.
All right, besides those kinds of things, are there other just common mistakes that people make?
Yeah, there's always sorts of mistakes depending on your facts and circumstances. If you're a self-employed person, part-time or full-time as a side hustle, a lot of the mistakes have to do with just you leave things off. We see this each year when people have us look over their returns. But if you're self-employed, you have a whole separate set of rules to consider, which includes a whole lot of different deductions. Home office being one of those, automobile or travel expenses, lunches, gifts. So if you're self-employed, be sure you pay particular attention. And if you're retired, retirees have a really complex life these days. It's not like it was 20 years ago when you had maybe a pension and maybe Social Security. Retirees today are drawing from a dozen different accounts, and you just put that on your tax return because you've got some money. You might be paying too much. Leave it off because you think it's exempt. That's not necessarily how retirement works either. So a lot of things that are complicated on retirees, and then the rest of it is just anybody with a life change. You have family members going to higher education, a lot of considerations there. If you have a new dependent in your family, or you have a new family structure, got married or what have you, there are a lot of things to consider on that, because a lot of deductions and a lot of credits key off those family members. So just be attentive, and if you had a life change during the year, 25, that was different than 24, bring that up to your pro. And certainly if you have tips or overtime or bought a car, or if you're over 65, I call those out because those are some really sweet, new, big deductions, and all you have to do is qualify. You don't have to itemize.
All right, this is good to know. Thank you for your time and expertise. If you need this, maybe your friend needs this, this is going to be posted in the 2 Wants to Know section of our website. Right now, we're going to get a check on the forecast.